So as you all know, we started, well, first of all, if you all have any more questions, when I give you all the 15-minute break, I'll be answering the questions as well, right? So as you all know, the last 2 weeks, we have started the last topic in paper 2, which is the short story or narrative writing. And the first class, I gave you all a handout about the different elements of the short story and a bit of a description about what is required for each particular element. And then last week, we started incorporating those elements into our writing, where we looked at different ways that we could begin a short story. I even shared with you all some useful expressions, some vocabulary words and stuff that you could use in your stories as well. So how are y'all feeling about this short story thus far? Anyone is having difficulties with it?
Is my microphone working?
Yes, Sanjay, we are hearing you.
Okay, good.
So anyone is having difficulties with the short story, or the handout was clear and you're all using your expressions and you're managing?
My only thing was the word limits. Everything else I think I had okay.
The word limit was a challenge because you wanted to write more.
Yes.
Definitely.
And well, today we'll be continuing as well with the short story in the different elements that I gave you all. We're going to try to do a bit of analysis on them. And for each one, I have like a little sample for you, and we'll be answering these questions together. You all could jot down the questions in your notebooks, but I will be asking you all to say questions aloud so that, you know, the entire class could hear, and I can give you all feedback and so on. So one important element is setting, and as you all know, every story must have a setting. So which part of the plot would you find setting? Which part of the plot would setting fall under? There are 5 different stages in the plot. Do you all remember where the setting would go?
Exposition.
Yes, Andrew. It will appear in the exposition, which is the first element in the plot sequence. Good. And in the exposition, the setting is revealed to us. And what again is setting?
Like the time of day, the location, and the atmosphere.
Very good. And also in the exposition, we get the setting is revealed to us, as well as the introduction of the main characters. So today we'll be looking at setting. As you see, I have exercises for each one. So we have letters A to F, and I'm going to read this paragraph for you all, and then we're going to have a bit of a discussion on it, and you are going to write your responses to me in your notebooks, and I will call on you all randomly to share your responses with the class, just to ensure that we see as well how other people write. Because remember, I stressed that a good way to improve your writing is to read how other people's writing as well, see how they write, just, you know, to help in you developing your own style. And when you read something that someone wrote, maybe you can incorporate it in your own writing in the future when you have to write something pertaining to that topic. So the instructions say, read carefully the following extract and answer these questions. So I always tell you all that one good technique in answering comprehension, and I want you all to practice this technique as well in your multiple choices, that whenever you're given a comprehension, you are given a poem or a graphic representation, it's always good to read your questions before, because in reading your questions before, you are not going into the passage blindsided. You know exactly what you're looking for, so it's good to get an idea beforehand as to what the passage is about before reading it. So A says, what time of day is it? B, what is the location? C, what details of the setting are mentioned? D, what mood does the setting evoke in you? E, what is the dominant impression? How is it created? And F, what can you predict from the atmosphere about the development of events or the plot?
Gimana? Ya, Nita.
Good. So the paragraph begins. The silence was profound. The night animals had gone into hiding, and the day ones were still reluctant to come out into the open to start their morning business.
The time
Ojabeta?
is early morning. Early morning.
Sanjay, you can't give me your answers as yet. I have to read the entire paragraph first. Ojabeta and her brother were not unaware of the animals' sleeping movements in the thick walls of the green forest, as the sudden noise of their footsteps startled one or two creatures into temporary wakefulness. Except for these minor signs, there was stillness everywhere. As they plodded through the bush tracks, they seemed to be entering the very belly of the earth, being swallowed by a dark, mysterious, all-green world. Tangled branches of huge tropical forests, creeping plants, enormous tree trunks, all entwined together to form the impenetrable dark green grove. So jot down in your notebooks your responses for A to F. What time of day you think it is, what is the location, the details of the setting, and so on. I will be randomly selecting students to give me their responses. Reread the passage again. Think about the characters. Ask yourself who is involved in the story. Ask yourself where you think the story is taking place, because it's not directly stated. You have to pay attention to the descriptions, the fine details, to try to figure out where the story is located, because they didn't directly say it. It was said indirectly. So you have to look for the little cues. Even for the mood, just remember that, the setting and the atmosphere affects the mood. So once you figure out the setting, you will be able to have an idea about the mood. And remember, mood has to do with how you are feeling. Also, what is the dominant impression? So overall, what impression do you get, and how is this impression created? And the last one, what can you predict from the atmosphere about the development of events in the plot? So just from reading this little extract, what could you predict about the plot? What do you think will happen next? And so on, because we know that the setting is in the exposition. So what do you think can happen in the rise in action, and the climax, the fall in action, or even in the resolution? So question, who are the characters in this paragraph?
I don't know how to pronounce her name. Ojebeta
yeah,
and her brother.
And her brother, Okay. So it's like a sister and a brother, because it says her brother, so it's a sister and a brother, okay. Any other characters? So we could classify Ojebeta and her brother as the main characters. Do you all see any other minor characters who are there, but they're not really involved in the action of the plot as yet?
Yeah.
What are the other characters, or who are the other characters?
The animals.
The animals, good. So just remember, keep asking yourself these questions, revisit the questions that I gave you all about setting, and trying to figure out the setting of the story as well. Just remember, this is just a little snippet of the entire story. If you want, you could even continue this paragraph and create your own story from this paragraph. But remember that this is the exposition. So this is in the very beginning of the story. So this would usually be your first paragraph, and then you could continue with 5 other paragraphs, and you could conclude the story and make the story into whatever you want it to be. So just remember that, the setting is extremely important, because just from reading this, we get an idea about the place and time and stuff. Although it's not implicitly stated, we have to read between the lines and try to figure out for ourselves what kind of setting would match the descriptions that the writer is painting there for you. And you always have to use the place and time, and that would in turn reflect the atmosphere. And once you know the atmosphere that is created, it will help you in figuring out the mood. So like, for instance, if the setting is dark, it's cold, it's lonely, not hearing any noises, maybe the atmosphere would be a scary one, and then your mood, you would not be frightened. So try to use the setting, the descriptions, the atmosphere to figure out the mood that you would be in. So anyone has a response for option A? Option A says, what time of day is it? And remember that for each question, I will be asking you, to justify where you saw that and stuff. So let me call on someone to answer option A. So the first person is Jaden. What time of day do you think it is in this paragraph? Yes, Jaden?
It's early morning.
It's early in the morning. How do you know that?
Because in the second line, they say the night animals had gone into hiding and they want the story doctor to come out to start their early morning business.
Good. So it's early in the morning. And what do we refer to as early in the morning?
On.
Do you think that maybe the time of day is around dawn, so like sunrise there? Because if the night animals have gone into hiding, it means that, that light is now emerging. So maybe the time of day could be like dawn, just before sunrise, or it could even be during sunrise. Jaden?
Yes, it could be right before sunrise.
Good. So right before sunrise, we'll call that dawn, right? Anybody had anything different for what time of day it is? Or everyone had that? B says, what is the location? So Hema, could you tell me what is the location? So location has to do with place. So if you had to tell me where you think the story is taking place, so where?
In the forest.
You think it's taking place in the forest? Okay, and how do you know it's in the forest?
Because it said in the thick walls of the green forest.
Good. It says in the thick walls of the green forest, and they even mentioned in the second to last line here about the huge tropical forest with the branches of the huge tropical forest. So we get an idea that they're venturing into the forest. Good. C says, what details of the setting are mentioned? So just remember details of the setting. Let me pick someone for this response. Ravi, what details of the setting are mentioned?
The silence.
So do you remember when I gave you the handout on the features of the setting, so like details of the setting?
Just say early morning.
So like details of the setting will be like the time, the place, even the events or situation, if it's credible or realistic, even the atmosphere. So what were some details of the setting that they mentioned? Did they mention the time of day?
Yes, the location. Well, they didn't say the exact location, but they said it was in the forest.
Yeah, they said the forest, good, and they even mentioned the time of day because they said in the early morning. Good. Did they mention did they give us an idea about the atmosphere?
Yes.
What kind of atmosphere you think was painted here?
They say it was still.
This is not Arabi. Who's this? Is Denzel? Denzel, I will call on you to answer.
I don't know if you called me yet. I
No,
really.
Denzel, I did not call you as yet.
Alright, sorry about that.
Yes, Ravi. So, how do you think the atmosphere is?
It was quiet, kind of creepy.
Yeah, although it was still, we get an idea that that Ojibet and her brother, they were still feeling a bit scared because even in the fourth line when they said the sudden noise of their footsteps startled one or two of the creatures into temporary wakefulness, and they even mentioned that that they were unaware of the animals sleeping, there was stillness everywhere. And even the descriptions that they given us about them being swallowed by the dark, mysterious green world, although it is very still, we still get an idea that, you know, maybe because they're venturing into such stillness and loneliness that they're feeling a bit scared. Good. Letter D says, what mood does this setting evoke in you? So, Marie, what mood does this setting evoke in you? From reading all of this, what mood does it evoke in you? How do you feel? And if Marie is unable to answer, the next person would be Hema. What mood does the setting evoke in you? So when you read the setting, you read the descriptions that the writer is painting here for you, how do you feel?
Frightened,
You feel frightened? Okay. Why do you feel frightened?
because of the fact that according to the sentence, the footsteps are awakening the animals. So therefore, if the animals wake up,
Mm-hmm. And if the animals wake up, what do you think will happen to you?
it is.
Breakfast.
Let's
Yeah,
see the more type of animals it is. Next thing you see, I won't make it out of the forest.
True, because maybe you will get scared if the animals if they wake up and they see you. Okay, but even like some of the words that they use in the description, it seems a bit scary. So like when they say swallowed by a dark, mysterious and creeping plants, enormous tree trunks, it all seems as though, you know, everything around you is so massive and you have no control over it and it's so frightening. It sort of paints that frightening image in your mind. So good. E says, what is the dominant impression and how is it created? So Denzel, this is your time to shine. What do you think is the dominant impression? So the overall feeling, and how do you think this is created?
Miss, I
Denzel,
just
yeah.
what was the question?
You are answering letter E that says, what is the dominant impression and how is it created? So the impression is like the overall feeling. So dominant, what is like the main feeling of the entire passage and how do you think this is created? So how does the writer create this overall feeling in the passage?
Well, it's a kind of, I think it's fearful
Mm-hmm.
because the stillness everywhere, meaning that anything is possible to happen.
Good.
How we describe the plants and the trees.
Yes, that's what I wanted you to say. I wanted you to say that it was created through descriptions.
Oh, yeah, it was created through description.
And what kind of imagery is that? Any type of imagery you see in there?
You mean imagery?
So remember, we have like the 5 types of imagery that matches your 5 senses. So when he is describing stuff, is it things that you could hear, things that you could see, touch, taste, smell?
You could see it.
Okay, so visual imagery. And even with the noises as well, right? Because he's saying stillness, so we get an idea, so you know, that how everything is sounding. So in terms of hearing. Good. F, Sandra, you would answer F. F says, what can you predict from the atmosphere about the development of events? So Sandra, if you had to continue with the plot, what could you predict would happen based on on the atmosphere that is painted?
Something scary.
Like what? If you had to continue the story, what twist would you put to it, or what would be the scary thing?
Like getting like it's an animal, but it's not like a bad animal, and it like surrounding them, but they think it's like a demon or something, and then they find out it's like a dog or something, like a stray dog.
So you would have that sort of comic relief at the end where all the fear was built up, and then all of a sudden it would just be a small dog that they probably think was this big towering dog that was vicious.
Yes.
Good. Alex, if you had to continue the story, what would you do with the end of the story? It already begins so tense. We feel a bit nervous for these two kids because we don't know what's going to happen because they're in a forest. I don't know how many of you will ever venture into a forest by yourself and see that how scared you become when you are actually around the stillness, and even when you're seeing a few animals.
I've seen monkeys already.
Monkeys are nice.
You know, when they're beating their chest on Russia, no?
Monkeys are nice. They don't harm you. They probably just want to play with you.
I don't want to play.
So anybody would have continued this story where maybe they would have
stress relievers, okay?
maybe Ojebet and her brother would have gotten lost in the forest. Anybody would have ruled something along that line, where maybe they got lost into the forest, because the way how they responding right now, it seems as though they're not really too familiar with the forest, because if they were, then these things wouldn't be a bit scary for them. They would have been familiar with the setting. So we get an idea that that they're not really too familiar with the setting. So a good way that we could continue the story is that maybe they could have gotten lost in the forest, and well, we don't know how they will get out. This is where you'll have to be creative and figure out, how they would escape. Because, when you're in the forest, the cell signal don't really work. You have no cell signal. So here's where you'll have to be creative and try to figure out a way for them to escape this sort of hellhole that is being created here. So this, the reason why I gave you all this exercise is because it really helps in you all understanding what is required of you when it comes to setting. And just as you all know, the setting is found in the first paragraph. This is a really good way that you could begin your short story. So I want you all to keep reading this paragraph and the questions, so that when you write your own introductory paragraph, you could ask yourself, okay, did I incorporate the time of day, the location? Did I mention details of the setting? Are the details enough to create a mood? So this was just for you to remember, so that when you begin writing your stories, you would know exactly what to incorporate under setting. The next important element of the story is character. And we said that a character could be anything or anyone. So you could have a human as a character, you could have an animal portraying a character, or even a thing that is personified, that is brought to life. So this exercise says, read closely the following character descriptions and answer the questions which follow each description. So remember, I told you all it's extremely important that you describe your character, and we even looked at ways that we could describe characters last week. Do you all remember some things that we could mention about characters that would help in painting an image in the reader's mind? Do you all remember what we looked at last week?
Yeah.
How they dress.
How they dress, good.
How they look.
Uh-huh. Anything else? So if you're describing a character, you will only describe the character on the outside?
Personality.
Yes, you could even describe them on the inside, right? So you could even give the reader a sense of, who they are in terms of their qualities and their personality. Good. So let's look at this. Let's look at the questions first, because I told you all that we should read the questions first to get a hint as to, what the paragraph is about. So the first one says, which features of Lawson are emphasized in the description? So we know that it's a man we're going to be exploring here, Lawson. The next one, what contrast in the description does the extract convey? So we know that, contrast has to do with opposites. How does the writer feel about Lawson, and how do you know? What evidence is there to show that Lawson is insincere? Select specific words and phrases to support your answer. And do you find this character credible? Why or why not? So let's read the paragraph. It says, nor was there anything attractive in Lawson's appearance. He was a little thin man with a long, sallow face and a narrow, weak chin, a prominent nose, large and bony, and great, shaggy black eyebrows. They gave him a peculiar look. His eyes, very large and very dark, were magnificent. He was jolly, but his jollity did not seem to me sincere. It was on the surface a mask which he wore to deceive the world, and I suspected that it concealed a mean nature. He was plainly anxious to be thought a good sport, and he was hail fellow well met, but I do not know why I felt that he was cunning and shifty. So take your 2 minutes and jot down your responses, and I will be calling on you all for us to explore what we think about Lawson. So remember we came across the word sallow last week when I told you all that you could describe someone's face. I hope you all remember this. Sallow is like when you're describing someone's complexion. So it turns more to the yellow side. For instance, when someone is suffering with an illness. So we could describe their face as being sallow, meaning when someone is looking pale or yellow. So just read over the description and think, and tell me what you think about Lawson. Jot down your answers and I will call on you all. So look at the outer description. We get a very detailed outer description of him actually. I think that everyone could probably picture how this person looks, so maybe we know someone who looks like this. And in case you all did not know, is that in the second to last line here, when they said he was hail fellow well met, that is a saying that means that, people who are extremely friendly, that we have persons who are very sociable, they're extremely friendly. So when someone is a hail fellow well met, it means that, that they're extremely friendly. So try to visualize, how you think Lawson looks. We get a very good description. I'm sure that, maybe you all could match this description to someone that you all know, even if it was a character from a show, someone in real life. And just remember that when we were looking at the description for eyes, last week in the handout, one of the tips was that, eyes could really reveal to you a person's true nature. So you have to pay particular attention to their eyes because it really helps in revealing the type of person that the character is. So Alex, are you with us? I want you to do the first one for me, Alex, and tell me which features of Lawson are emphasized in the description. So you could either unmute your mic and give me the response, or you could send it in the chat. So tell me, for the first one, what features of Lawson do you think are you see being emphasized in the description? So Alex appears to not be with us at the moment. So let me go on this next person on my list, which is Hema. What features of Lawson do you see being emphasized in the description?
Miss, before you call my name, I could have just feel that you was going to call me. His face?
His face, yes, because they spent a great deal of time giving us a description about his face. Good. We get a lot of description on his face. We get the idea about the color of his complexion, his chin, his nose, his eyebrows, his eyes. Good. So do you think that the features are more the features being described are more physical?
More the outer look.
Yeah, it's more on the outside because we get a sense as to how the person feels about him in terms of his qualities, but the writer leans more to describing the how Lawson looks on the outside. Very good. So more of a physical description. The second one says, what contrast in the description does the extract convey? So, Ravi, what contrast in the description do you think the extract conveys? So, any point in time when the writer was describing him, do you see any any opposites? Or what, or overall, you know, do you think that the description is true to what the writer is saying, or at some point in time he says something but then he says the opposite? Ravi, this is your time to shine. So Ravi appears not to be here. Felicia.
Sorry, just went to the washroom. What was the question?
Yes, Ravi, your question is the second one that says, what contrast in the description does the extract convey? So at some point in time when the writer is describing Lawson, do you see the writer saying one thing and then saying something else? So he's saying the complete opposite. So they are contrasting statements he's making.
Contradicting the type of person that he is. Because
Also.
she was saying that he seems to be this way, but for some reason or the other, the writer can't describe why, but they feel that he's cunning and shifty.
Yeah, because remember, the first description was saying that he was peculiar, and if someone is peculiar, it means that you know that they are a bit strange. But then the writer was saying that you know that he was jolly. So do you all think that strange-looking people are always happy? Because the writer was saying that you know what, Lawson was jolly, but then the writer was saying that he thinks that this was a mask for his mean nature. So we get an idea of a bit of a contrast in terms of the kind of person that Lawson is. Because 1 minute, the writer is saying that he's jolly, but then the writer is saying that he doesn't believe it because he thinks as though this is a mask for Lawson being really a mean person. Good. The next one says, how does the writer feel about Lawson and how do you know this? So Sanjay, how do you think the writer feels about Lawson and how do you know that?
Doesn't like him.
And how do you know that?
By the way he describes him and refers to him.
And what are some of the descriptions he uses to describe Lawson that tells you he doesn't like Lawson?
Well, yeah. I'm not sure how to answer this because I have a lot of stuff.
Yes, there are a lot of things. But which line did you read and you were like, yeah, this line says that you know he really doesn't like Lawson?
The whole thing.
Yes, I think especially the first line.
I want to say no one said anything attractive in Lawson's appearance, so we got an idea that you know what this writer
the first
like
line.
Lawson.
Yeah, they don't like nothing about him. They just
Yeah, because they say
nothing
that
attractive.
nothing was attractive about Lawson. And then
Yeah.
when you read the last line as well, when he says, I don't know why I felt that he was cunning and shifty. If you feel that someone is very cunning, people tend not to like others who are cunning because it means that, you know, that they're a bit sly and deceitful. So even from the very first line, Jaden, we get the idea for sure that he doesn't, that, you know, that what he was going to say about Lawson wasn't going to be something good.
I need to make up.
The fourth one says, what evidence is there to show that Lawson is insincere? Select specific words and phrases to support your answer. So, Denzel, when you read this, what evidence you say that shows us Lawson is a bit insincere?
I can't get more than 2 hours. How am I going?
No, you don't know.
So if someone is insincere, Denzel, it means that, you know, that they're a bit fake. We get the idea that they're a bit fake and they're not who they say they really are.
Is that thing the word jollity?
It tells you that he's insincere.
Say he was jolly, but his jollity did not seem sincere.
Mm-hmm. And what again?
Say he wore a mask,
Mm-hmm.
deceived you, which means he was pretending.
Yeah. And even when he says he was plainly anxious to be thought of a good sport, you know, because Lawson was so concerned with what other people thought about him that, you know, he just really wanted to be this way, this one particular way for people, but he deep down inside was something else. And the last one says, do you find this character credible? Why or why not? So I don't know if Alex is back with us to answer this question. Alex? Alex, are you back with us? Is Alex and Marie? Anyone of you could answer this last question. So do you find this character credible? So when you read the description of Lawson, do you think that he's a credible character? So remember that if he is credible, it means that, you know, he'll be a bit convincing. He'll be something that you could believe to be true. So do you think that Lawson's description points him to be a credible character? And why do you think so, or why not? So since Alex is not with us, I will have Jaden answer this.
I don't think he's credible because everything they described him is like in a negative way.
So you don't think that this could be a real person who is very convincing and we could believe him to be this way?
No.
No? Why?
If so, that person are depressed because the way they describe him.
So why do you think he's not credible? Because you have to give me a reason why. So remember, if characters are credible, it means that, you know, that we are able to believe that this character could exist in a story. So, you know, sometimes when you read a story, the way how persons describe the character, you're like, okay, this is not this is not practical. This would never exist in society. You're being a little too fictional and dramatic. So do you think that when you read this about Lawson, his appearance, the way he is, do you think that this could be a character in a movie or in a novel? Because maybe you have seen other characters who appear like Lawson or have similar qualities like Lawson.
Well, he could be a character, just like he could be like one of those, you know, for example, in a story where a child was bullied and then have like a superpower or something.
So you think now that he's a credible character?
Yeah, because you know, it's have some stories I had where like sometimes the person, nothing might be good going on in their life, and then out of nowhere something good will happen, and
Mm-hmm.
then this
So
change,
he's
and
believable. We believe that, you know, someone like Lawson could exist
yeah,
in a story. Good. The next exercise is on dialogue. So remember, when we looked at dialogue, we covered many different areas of dialogue because dialogue is extremely important in a short story. And I hope that when you all were even doing your short stories, or if you are experimenting with your writing, that you all were able to include dialogue in your stories, because it's very important to make your characters talk, to make them believable, to bring them to life, right? And we do this with the dialogue in the story. And the dialogue is even there to create, you know, conversation in the story as well. And it helps to really give your character a voice, to make them speak. They can speak from within their heart, from their mind. They can tell us what they're saying and so on. So in this exercise, it says dialogue and theme. So we know that the theme is the central idea or the main idea of the story. So it says dialogue may be used to develop the theme of the story. Read the dialogue below. What do you think is the theme of the dialogue? So I'll be picking someone to tell me what they think is the theme, the main idea of the dialogue. So just from reading this conversation, tell me what you think is the main idea or the theme of this excerpt. So it says, are you going to invite Kate Rostov to the school dance? I don't think so, said Monty. Why not? Asked his brother, Henry. I thought you'd like Kate. I do, said Monty, rubbing the toe to his right shoe across the carpet. But what? Gay Henry, she's not a very good dancer. If I take Katie, I'm afraid people will think I couldn't get anybody else to go with me, Henry snorted. You'd pass up a chance to go to the dance with an intelligent, witty, attractive girl because of what other people might think? Honestly, Monty, I thought you had more sense. So, just from reading this extract, what do you think is the main theme of this dialogue? What you think is happening here in this story? And I want let me see if Nathan is still with us. I saw that Nathan was here. Okay, he's not here. Marie, are you with us? Nathan Christian, who is in our class, Sanjay. Marie, are
Does
you
he
with
want
us?
to wear a hat?
No, he doesn't.
Yes, miss.
Oh, Marie, I want you to answer this question. So remember we said that dialogue could reveal the theme of the story and could help develop the main idea of the story. So did you hear when I was reading this extract for you all? Marie?
Yes, miss.
So what you think is the main theme of this dialogue? What you think is happening here? And what's the main idea?
They're talking about if they like somebody.
Uh-huh. And who likes who? We know that the topic of discussion is Katie. And you know, Henry is there, we have Monty there. So they're trying to figure out if they're trying to figure out if Monty would ask Katie to the dance. And Monty is giving us his reason as, you know, why he thinks he shouldn't ask Katie to the dance, because she's not a good dancer and he's afraid of what people would say. So what do you think is the main idea of this extract? So, you know, we have different themes like loyalty, friendship, love. So what do you think is the main is a theme of this dialogue? Anybody wants to help Marie?
Miss, I'm thinking friendship and love.
Friendship and love. Good. So who are the friends in the story?
Miss Friendship.
Monty and Henry, and well, Monty like Keith, I guess.
Well, they said when after they said Monty, they said why not ask his brother Henry? So they're siblings, And we get an idea about friendship, but it's more like a sort of teenage sort of crush going on here, because we get the idea that Monty likes Katie, but then Henry is telling us that well, by Henry asking the questions, we get Monty to open up about Katie, about how he feels about Katie. And you know what he's saying, that you know she's not a good dancer. I don't think that I should carry her to the dance, although I like her because you know people would you know say things about her. And then Henry's upset and he says, you know, he's listing all the good qualities about Katie. And he ends by saying, honestly, Monty, I thought you had more sense. So let me get Sanjay. Let me get a young perspective on this, Sanjay. What you think is the main theme of this extract? What you think is happening here? If you had to say what the topic, the central idea of this dialogue, what would it be in your words?
Monty contemplating on who he should ask to go to the dance.
Mm-hmm. So you think the team is more of what? Indecision?
Yes.
But you think he is still trying to figure out if he should or should not, or you think he already made up his mind?
I'm not sure.
Anybody wants to say if you all think he is indecisive? So you think the team is a little bit of indecisiveness taking place here, or you all think he already made up his mind?
Well, I think he kind of made up his mind, but the brother's trying to convince him to change it.
Mm-hmm. And then we do get the indecisiveness because first he says, I don't think so. And then when Henry asks him, I thought you like it, he says, I do. And then he says, but. So that word but tells us that, you know, that he's thinking one way, but he's thinking somewhere else. So we get the theme of the indecisiveness because he doesn't know what he's going to do yet. And then maybe we get a bit of, one team could also be peer pressure because what is he concerned about? He is so concerned about what other people would think. And if they're talking about school dance, I'm sure that you know that they're teenagers or so. So we get a bit of peer pressure here taking place in this little bit in this dialogue because he's saying, I'm afraid people will think, you know, he's afraid of what people will think about Katie. So we get the idea that, you know, that one team, one issue, one central idea in this dialogue is peer pressure. Good. The next part says dialogue and plot. So dialogue may be used to develop the plot in the story. It says read the dialogue below. There are two questions. It says what is the main incident in the dialogue? And two says which lines of the dialogue help to develop or advance the plot. So before I read this, let me pick the two persons who would be responding. The two persons would be Denzel, and I also want Felicia to respond. If Felicia is not there, I want Alex to respond. So these are two persons I will be asking about this part of a story. So it says, what is taking the cops so long to find that monster? Sorry, cops. What is taking the cops so long to find that monster? Linda said for the 100th time since this nightmare began 2 months before. Well, it's probably not their only case, Dan said quietly. He never knew exactly what to do with Linda when she got like this. I mean, I'm sure they're doing the best they can. The best they can? She screeched. How can you say that? Half the time when I call, I have to explain all over again who I am. They're idiots. I'm sure they're frustrated too. They want to find the guy who did this, I'm sure. Why do you always take their side? She cried. It's like you don't even care. That's when he shut down. How could she say he didn't care, that they'd never see their 19-year-old daughter alive again? It was too much for him to bear, that's all. He sank deeper into the chair and closed his eyes. So, Alex, what is the main incident in the dialogue? Alex or Felicia, what do y'all think is the main incident in the dialogue?
A missing girl?
It's a missing girl, but could you be more specific about the girl? Do you know anything about her?
She is
was
the
19.
19-year-old daughter.
Yes, Alex, she's 19 years old and her parents are? Do we know the names of her parents, Alex?
Linda.
Linda, uh-huh.
And Dan.
And Dan, good. So the main incident here is that, well, they said that they don't know if they will see her 19-year-old daughter alive again. And they say, what is taking the cops so long to find that monster? So what do y'all think happened to the daughter?
The monster took their daughter.
What do you think is a real monster or the
No,
monster is a
the
metaphor?
girl is the monster.
Yeah.
Who's the monster, Sanjay?
Me. The girl is the monster.
Because it said, what has taken the cops so long to find that monster? So, you know, sometimes when parents are frustrated, like if someone did something to their child, maybe they would refer to like a criminal as a monster. So they don't like literally mean a monster here. I'm sure monster is a metaphor for a person, right? So, but what you think can happen by them saying that about the case, and they said that they don't know if they'll see the daughter alive again? What could possibly happen to the daughter?
Death.
You think that she died?
Yes.
I don't think that she's dead as yet. Denzel, what do you think has happened to the daughter? Or Jaden, what do you think? What do you think has happened to the daughter?
That she got injured really bad.
No. No, she got injured really bad. Let me see if Ravi could figure it out. Ravi, what do you think has happened to the daughter?
She was kidnapped.
She was kidnapped. Very good. She was indeed kidnapped because they said, what is taking the cops so long to find the monster? And then they're saying that they don't know if they will see her alive again and the case is going on. So this situation could be a kidnapping because the monster has the child and they don't know if their child is alive or if they'll see their child again. So as long as the cops find the monster or the person who has the daughter, then the cops would perhaps bring the daughter home safely to them. So this incident is a kidnapping situation where, you know, the parents are a bit agitated, they're frustrated because, you know, they want to see their daughter again. They find the cops aren't doing enough. So, you know, this is how the parents are responding to this situation. The second question says, which lines of the dialogue help to develop or advance the plot? So just from reading the few lines, what do you think, which lines do you think could really help in advancing the plot, you know, to help with the rise in action, the climax, the fall in action? Which lines you would use here to get an idea about, you know, the direction in which the story could go? Hema.
Miss, I'm still reading.
Okay. Hema or Ravi? Just from maybe there's a line that you saw and you could use this line to really continue the story and to make up the different elements of the plot. Maybe there was some piece of information in a line that, you know, that you got an idea as to how the situation could turn out. So Hema or Ravi, the lines that you saw in the dialogue here that could really help in advancing the plot, could really help in creating the story and all the different events to the story. So there are multiple lines that we could use here. Let me give you all a hint, right? So if I had to advance the story, I would use the very last line when it says he sank deeper into the chair and closed his eyes. So like when someone is in this state, it means that you know that they're in a state of frustration, maybe hopelessness. They don't know how they're going to feel. So I would probably use this line as a bit of a foreshadowing as to what is to come in the end. So maybe in my story, I would create the sense where, you know, the daughter actually died, because I could see the dad responding this way again when the daughter actually dies or something, you know, something drastic happens to her. So
Who
I would
said
use
that?
that line to try and, you know,
It can be a plot twist too. She doesn't necessarily have to be kidnapped if you run away with the man too.
or it could be that she ran away with the man.
There could be a possibility that the police actually find you too.
Or yes, or there could be the possibility, because remember the line when they say what is taking the cup so long, maybe it could be that, you know, at the point in time when they're having the discussion, maybe right after they got the phone call saying that they found her. Good. Any other lines that you all would use here? Even when they say they're idiots, that line could really help in advancing the plot, because maybe, you know, in the end things turn out differently, where the parents really praise the officers and they really, you know, admire them for their hard work in bringing their daughter home safely. So you could show that, you know, in the plot, things changed from how they were initially, in that the parents were hating the officers, the mom was so frustrated, she was calling them idiots and stuff. And then in the end, they were the ones that, you know, that she could stop praising and thanking. Part C says dialogue and the character. So it says dialogue may be used to develop the character in the story. It says read the dialogue below. So the first one says, what do you learn about Lena from the dialogue? And which lines in the dialogue reveal aspects of Lena's character? So we got an idea that we have a character named Lena. So let's hear what this passage is about. It says, you are in love with Costos, Effie accused. No, I'm not. If Lena hadn't known she was in love with Costos before, she did now, because she knew what a lie felt like. You are too. And the sad thing is, you are too much of a chicken to do anything about it but mope. Lena sank into her covers again. As usual, Effie had summed up her her complex, anguished mental state in one sentence. Just admit it, Effie pressed. Lena wouldn't. She crossed her arms stubbornly over her pajama top. Okay, don't, Effie said. I know it's true anyway. Well, you're wrong, Lena snapped babyishly. Effie sat down on the bed. Her face was serious now. Lena, listen to me, okay? We don't have much more time here. You are in love. I've never seen anything like this before. You have to be brave, okay? You have to go and tell Costos how you feel. I swear to God, if you don't, you will regret it for the rest of your cowardly life. Lena knew this was all true. Effie had hit the mark so blatantly, Lena didn't even bother refuting it. But Eff, she said, her voice belying her raw agony, what if he doesn't like me back? Effie considered this. Lena waited, expecting, hoping for reassurance. She wanted Effie to say that, of course, Costos had liked her back. How could he not? But Effie didn't say that. Instead, she took Lena's hand in hers. That's what I mean about being brave. Did y'all enjoy this one?
Not really.
Not really, miss.
So what do you learn about Lena from the dialogue? Sanjay, what do you learn about Lena?
She's sad.
She's sad. Uh-huh. Well, there's a next word that we could use to describe her as well.
Insecure.
She's insecure. Very good. And she's a bit of a coward, right? Because she doesn't know how this person is going to react. And she doesn't even want to admit it to her own friend that, you know, she likes the person. So she's a bit insecure because maybe there's some things about her, you know, she feels a particular way about, and that's why she doesn't want, you know, to explore a relationship or tell this person how she feels. And which lines in the dialogue reveals this way of Lena, Sanjay? You said that she's insecure. Which line in the dialogue did you read that shows us she's insecure? Any line that points to her being insecure?
Yeah.
Which lines?
After count.
No, you can just read the sentence to me.
What if he don't like me back?
Any other line you saw that shows she's a bit insecure? And it says, what if he doesn't like me back?
You have to be brave.
You have to be brave. Good, so we get an idea that she's a bit of a coward, she's a bit insecure. Jaden, how do you feel about Lena? What kind of person you think Lena is, and any part in the passage that tells you this?
Well, like she doesn't think much of herself. She just think like, you know, she wishes to be better. She has low self-esteem.
Oh, she has low self-esteem. Good. And how do you know she has low self-esteem? Which part did you read that really confirm that she has low self-esteem?
Miss, I'm just guessing. She wanted Effie to say that, of course, Christos liked her back.
Good.
That's the line.
Any other line?
Didn't say that. So.
Jaden, any other line?
I look in. Well, she say, well, you're wrong, because she don't believe it, because she, you know, she doesn't believe that somebody like that could like her.
Well, I know that because her friend was saying that that, you know, her friend was saying that it's true, like him, and she was like, no, you're wrong. So or maybe she's yeah, she has low self-esteem, because even in terms of confidence, she's not confident enough to say how she really feels about someone. And we even get the idea of low self-esteem in the bottom here when it says Lena waited, expecting, hoping for reassurance. So, you know, she so needed someone to reassure her that, you know, what she was saying was, you know, was making sense, and this person could really like her. Like, she didn't believe it for herself. So it really shows that, you know, she is lacking confidence. She has the low self-esteem there, because she is relying on her friend to reassure her that this person can actually like you, without her even believing that she's good enough to be with this person. Very good. And the last exercise here is dialogue and conflict. So it says dialogue may be used to present a conflict in a story. Read the dialogue below. So remember, with conflict, we know that there are different types of conflict that could exist in a story. Do you all remember from the first class we did in short story, the different conflicts that could arise in a story when characters are experiencing conflict? Anybody remembers? Nobody remembers with conflict? Who could characters be in conflict with?
The people.
Good, they could be in conflict with other characters, so other persons. What again?
Themselves if they're crazy.
It could be with themselves, so they could be experiencing what we call inner conflict. So maybe the character is battling something within himself or herself. So we have characters against each other. We have conflict inside of characters. What again? Do you all remember that characters could also be facing conflict with like a force of nature? So that could be what they're battling with. So maybe if there's a storm, if there's an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, flooding, so the conflict or the confusion, the complication in the story would be that. And we even have characters facing conflict against society, so like them versus society, where they are thinking one way and the rest of society is against them and not supporting them. So the first question says, what is the conflict? And 2 says, is the conflict resolved and how do you know? So let's listen to this extract and I will pick on you all to answer the questions. Ron and Nicholas were arguing about the importance of education in today's global society for almost 20 minutes. Their voices became louder as the argument progressed. Then Ron said something which changed the tone of the argument. It's not vital to attend college to become an educated person, he said. Certainly, Nicholas replied abruptly. Why are you now saying certainly after your opposition to this idea all the time? I never said that attending college is important. My argument is that some form of studies is necessary after high school. Well, I never disagreed with that idea. My point is that people can become educated without going to college. If you had made this point clear, we'd never have had this argument. I'm not taking the blame. It was your duty to make your view clear. After a brief pause, they both burst out laughing, realizing they were arguing about why they were arguing. So let me see if Denzel is back with us. Denzel, are you back with us? Denzel is not back with us. Jalen, what do you think is the conflict that's taken place in this extract? What are they arguing about? Okay, anybody wants to help Jaden out?
Mr. arguing about the importance of education.
Very good. They're arguing about the importance of education. And do you think at the end the conflict is resolved?
Yeah.
And how do you know that?
Because after a while, they both started to laugh, realizing that they was just arguing about arguing.
Good. So, sometimes you see people arguing and then, the conflict goes on and then in the end they just laugh and they're like, oh, whatever. And after they're back to normal. And that shows you that everything has been resolved. So that's exactly what's taking place here. They're arguing about the importance of education. But what about the importance of education are they arguing specifically about? They both had different viewpoints about what?
Going to college.
About going to college, good. So who one was saying that going to college is not important. The other was saying that yes, going to college is important. And then they realized that, you know what, okay, this argument is silly. We're just arguing about why we are arguing. And then, that laugh there brings us sort of relief that, the conflict has subsided and the conflict is not taking place anymore. Did y'all get that feeling, or anybody thinks that the conflict is still ongoing? You think that after they laugh, they're going to go back at it? Do you all think they're going to go back at it?
Yes, I think that was the end of it there.
Yeah, it appears that it ended there.
I really think so.
Sanjay, what did you say?
I don't think they'll go back to fighting at that moment.
You think that they will eventually go back to fighting? Yeah. Why did you say that?
It seems so.
It seems so because maybe they seem a bit immature.
Yes.
Sometimes people, they argue, then they start to laugh again, and then afterwards, some seconds later, they realize that they were arguing and they go back at it. You think that this is that situation?
Yeah.
But predominantly, it appears as though the conflict has been resolved because just the fact that they say after a brief pause, they both burst out laughing, realizing they were arguing about why they were arguing. This last line where they mention the laughing really tells us that, even after the pause, it really solidifies that, the arguing has subsided and they're going to go back to being normal. So I wanted to show you all these exercises just so that you all would see, even in a dialogue, how you could incorporate different aspects of dialogue to bring forth ideas to your readers, right? So like you could use a dialogue to bring out the theme, to show character, to even showcase the conflict that's taken place. And the last element that we will be exploring today is plot. So it says compose a story using one of the following plot outlines. So we have 3 plot outlines here, and I will be picking on someone to tell me. I'll be picking on someone to tell me. I'll be picking on someone to tell me what they would really write about. So the first one, A says, so remember that this is just a plot outline. It's telling us, you know, the different stages of the plot. And this an outline is something that we could use to create an essay out of it. So the first one says engine malfunction. Then you have warning to passengers, panic on board, attempts to calm passengers, fire on wings of aircraft, emergency landing, people waiting to assist. So Hema, if you had to write this story, would you change anything to the plot outline, or you would use this as it is to create your story? And what story would you create?
This is not easy, no. I would use the same thing, this whole entire plot. Because it could be that, you know, everybody board the plane, and then when the plane take off, it had some difficulty in the air. Like, for example, with the story with the flock of birds.
Yeah.
And that's how the fire started on the aircraft on the wings. And well, the air hostess and then were trying to calm the passengers, but that didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Until they had to do a safe landing.
And when they did the emergency landing, was anyone injured?
No, nobody was not severely injured.
Okay.
But they were like all panicking and stuff. And at the end, yeah, it had people waiting to help them to get off.
And what would be the outcome? What do you think could have caused the engine to malfunction? Do you think that it happened naturally, or maybe someone plotted it?
It could be it happened naturally.
Okay, good. Part B says, this plot outline says, return home after a night out, home in complete darkness, ring doorbell, no answer, shadow scene, figure lurking behind bushes, use cell phone to call police station, police officers arrive in 5 minutes, searchlight all over, figure seen behind bushes, attempt to apprehend person. So let me pick Marie, are you there? So Marie, if you had to create this story, would you use this plot outline? And what interesting details would you include here?
Miss, if I had to choose one, I would choose A. I don't like story B at all, the plot.
What, okay, so if you had to adjust a B, what would you change in B? Because you said you didn't like it. So if you had to change something about it, what would you change?
You're home alone, you will return home after a night out.
Okay, so you'll be home alone.
And you just went to bed, you take off all the lights, there is darkness. Then there is a doorbell ring.
Okay.
You are alone in a big house. Obviously, you get scared. Miss, I would do the opposite of everything they say here.
And you would do that because maybe you wanted a more dramatic story?
Yes, and because I like to stay home alone too.
And how would you end the story if you had to end the story?
I run out the house.
And what happened to you when you ran out the house? What happened to you? Because it says that, you know, there was someone in the bushes there looking around. So
yeah, I would have been seeing my dead father figure in the house, so I run out.
Oh, so it would have just been like a supernatural being that you see, another actual person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. And the last one, C says, blazing sun, far out in the ocean, attacked by pirates, vessel nearby, he called for help, boat rammed, jump on raft for safety, spotted by Coast Guard vessel, explain situation, you follow pirates, and you have a speed chase. So let me pick Sanjay, because I think that Sanjay will give us a really exciting story. Sanjay, if you had to create this story, would you keep this plot outline, or what would you add to the plot outline to make the story even better?
I would add that the pilot trying to kill all of them.
We in part C, Sanjay, where you're out in the ocean and then the pirate comes.
Yeah, pirate.
So the pirate will kill everyone.
Yeah, and then take all.
And then do what?
Pirates were the one who did everything, and they're gonna kill all the passengers and take their stuff.
So the story would just end with the pirates being rich in the end and everyone died except the pirate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ravi, if you had to write this story for part C, would you keep all these elements in the plot, or what would you have adjusted to ensure that your story was exciting?
I keep everything. I keep it as is.
You will keep it as is? You like the plot outline?
Well, yeah, but what happened after during these speeches?
And what will happen after the speeches?
Well, you can have a time, they might have shoot out and thing.
Between the Coast Guard vessel and the pirates?
Does somebody ship sink?
So Marie said that she would jump out in the ocean, she would float and play dead, and then the pirates would think she's dead, and she would live to tell the story.
She thought she can swim. She will float for.
So these are just some ideas as to how your story could escalate from being from start to what can happen in the rise in action, the climax, the fall in action, and the conclusion, right? So these are just some ideas as to how you could plan out your plot. And even when you're writing your own stories, when you get the question, you can even plan it out in this way, where you put what can happen first and second and third and fourth, and then you could follow this little outline and create your own story. The last thing I want to do before you break is that I have a sample short story for you all here. So it says, faced with this moment of truth, I began to panic. What if I was wrong? Write a story that includes the above sentences. So again, the question is, faced with this moment of truth, I began to panic. What if I was wrong? So let's read the story, and we're gonna sort of critique the story and say how we feel about the story. The graveyard was cold, dark, and dreary. One dreary old oak tree leaned over the entrance gate, and broken, battered headstones were scattered all around. I could hear the sound of the howling wind and the creak and groan of branches as they swayed in the storm. The smell of fear and rotting leaves filled my nostrils, and I swallowed deeply, afraid I would get sick. As I walked towards my brother's grave, I heard another noise. It was slow, heavy footsteps. I turned. A tall, muscular man was walking towards me. His face was tough and covered in stubble to hide the scars which crisscrossed his jaw. I don't think this is such a good idea, I shouted over the wind. It's too late to change your mind, the man replied in a low, threatening voice. Either we dig him up now, or you spend the rest of your life wondering how he died. Okay, I mumbled, afraid to say anything more in case the lump in my throat would cause tears to run down my face. I could still remember the day those two army officers arrived at my house to tell me my brother was dead. Their cold, hard faces gave little away when I asked how he died. Killed in the course of duty was all they would say. Everything else was classified. They handed me a letter from my brother, saluted, then turned and left. The click-clack of their shoes on the pavement slowly dying away. I stood frozen to the spot, dazed, confused, and devastated. I finally opened the letter with trembling fingers, but only one line stared back at me. I'll always be with you, Brother Cal. What did he mean? How could he be with me ever again? He was dead. Now I leaned heavily on the rusty shovel in my hands and started to dig, determined to uncover the truth. The scar-faced man beside me began to dig at the other end, and soon my brother's coffin began to emerge from beneath the layers of sodden earth. Faced with this moment of truth, I began to panic. What if I was wrong? I knew Carl hated the army. I knew he wanted out. His girlfriend Sarah hadn't turned up at the funeral, hadn't contacted her family in the 2 months since his death. But maybe she just needed some space. I looked down at the coffin as my hired helper tugged at the lid with a crowbar. With a loud snap, the lid flew back, revealing the frozen corpse inside. My whole body filled with relief. There was a dead man in the coffin, but it wasn't my brother. So
It was a vampire.
I was so eagerly awaiting your response, Andre. You think it was a vampire? He says that there was a dead man in the coffin.
Watch on TV, yeah, boy.
So the second to last line says there was a dead man in the coffin, but it wasn't my brother. So what do you think happened here?
He be mistaken identity. They took him for somebody else.
Yeah, but then if they took it for somebody else, right? Why would the army come and say that the brother died?
Because they thought that was the brother.
Also, no, but then they got the name correct because they said that they had Carl.
They get the name correct, but the body wrong.
Area 51.
So Ravi is saying that maybe they did get the name correct, but maybe they buried the wrong person. And maybe the actual body is on a different headstone in a different grave under someone else's name.
That can happen.
Okay, yes, that could happen.
Or it could be that the brother actually wasn't dead and they just put the body there to cover it up and to fake his own death.
Yeah, or maybe the men who came to bring the letter for him, probably they were some sort of crooks and they actually killed the brother. You never know if the letter was fake and the actual army officers who delivered the letter, they could have been responsible for the brother's disappearance, and just, to ensure that the family doesn't question his disappearance, they just gave the letter saying that he was dead so that, they wouldn't classify it.
Or it can be that the gentlemen are actually looking for him, and if they kind of fake his death to bring him out.
Good. They could. That could actually happen. Because remember, he said he wanted a way out. So maybe this was the brother playing a trick on them, where the brother came maybe some months from here. The brother could appear home and be like, okay, well, I had to fake my death in order for me to leave the army. Because they did mention he wanted a way out. Anybody else have any thoughts about this story?
They would still find if he fake he on death.
True, they would.
Yeah, they would find him.
Yeah, because if it's the army, they would still find him. So I guess if you all had to continue this this story, you all could make this into however you want it to be.
He went undercover.
Oh, he went undercover to do what?
To live a normal life.
To live a new life. But do you think he would return? And they said that they didn't hear about it from the girlfriend. Did you all pick up on that in detail?
Nope.
Yeah, when they said that
she hasn't been seen or heard from in 2 months.
Yeah, he said his girlfriend Sarah hadn't turned up at the funeral. She hadn't contacted the family in the 2 months since his death. So you think Sarah could have something to do with what's going on, or she was in on it?
That's why
Maybe she was actually him.
What?
Okay.
It was a trick. So like the girlfriend was fake. And he just was like wearing a mask.
So he created the identity of Sarah and told his family he had a girlfriend named Sarah, but Sarah didn't really exist. Sarah was him.
Yeah, so then he tricked them into thinking he died.
Ravi, you were going to say something about
No, they
the
trick him
line.
into thinking that he was dead, so he doesn't have to be around the army or his family.
Oh, so he just wanted to not be. He just wanted a whole new life
Yeah,
away from everyone.
yeah.
Ravi, you were going to tell me something about the line with Sarah.
Well, that is why I said the last part is because he went into hiding with. He probably went into hiding with her. That's why she didn't. She wasn't seen for the 2 months.
Yeah, because
And it-
usually,
It's
if that was his girlfriend, she would have been at the funeral. So you
So
know,
it's just
maybe she has something to do with it. She looks a bit suspicious. So if you had to continue this story, how would you end it? Like if this was a TV episode and we had to wait for the next week's episode, what would happen in next week's episode?
I would say the army, they send out some people to look for him and they actually will find him. The girl.
And where would they find him?
Stop.
On some island in the Pacific, Fiji, Bora Bora, somewhere, and they find him and they bring him back to charge him like what they always do.
Now that two thing normally is right in front here. As the letter say, he will always be around her, over her, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, he can't hide right there around. I'm sure they would have people there.
Not necessarily. He can be hiding in plain
Yeah,
daylight.
because the letter says, "I'll always be with your brother." So maybe his brother is actually closer to him than he thinks.
Thank
But
you.
if he's really the army,
What if he didn't write it?
But I would have recognized him.
no, like those people who just like shave off all their hair, get like nose extensions to make them look different.
No,
Like
Maybe
their
he
face.
have plastic surgery and he has a different face, so that's
Yeah.
why he is not recognizable.
No, it was like a mask, and then he had to fake his death in order to actually fully become like the general or something.
You all have wild imaginations here. But some minor details to pick up on. If y'all had to create like a second episode to this one episode, maybe some important things that were mentioned with the letter when he says that I'll always be around you. Maybe it could be that, the brother is actually like, close by looking on, but he can't physically come and talk to the family as yet because of how everything didn't pass over yet. Maybe Sarah would have something to do with this because the fact that she didn't show up and she's missing, so she could be directly related to this. Even the army officers, they could have been inside on it because, they just, said that he just died in line of duty. So they were being a bit vague there. So think of, what you would create in your second episode to this show.
Miss, what about if he didn't even write the letter? If somebody else wrote the letter and forged his signature or something and they have him hostage.
True. That's true because the two army officers, just the fact that they came and they were so vague, maybe they could have been in on it as well. They could have had something to do with this.
Okay.
Marie was saying that when her dad was in the army, the only possible way of an escape is to fake a death, which is true. And we see that in a lot of movies. We see that people faking that they die just so that they could escape something, and then they come back with a different name. They look different. So maybe your guys' second story or second episode to this show could be that he resurfaces, but he looks different. And
Second life.
He did some work to himself, and that's why he wasn't recognizable. And just the fact that the letter says I'll always be around you, maybe he was. You never know if he was probably the new neighbor in the neighborhood, and the family didn't know. Because that's how his appearance
he was the dog.
Or maybe he was the what?
Dog, because he died and he have a second life or his third life.
Oh, well, then you could create a fantasy story like that. That would be a really interesting story. So maybe it could have been that the brother Carl got a new pet and this was the brother reincarnated. So I want to resume class with this question that was actually in this year's January paper. So remember last week we explored the picture essay, when you are given the picture and how to respond in terms of answering it and creating a picture, an entire story from that one image. So this question was from this year's paper, question 4. And the question says, Mr. Mata was a well-known and respected member of the community, but lately he had become quite withdrawn. No one could explain the change until the day the stranger arrived. Write a story which includes these sentences. So again, one more time, the question is, Mr. Mata was a well-known and respected member of the community, but lately he had become quite withdrawn. No one could explain the change until the day the stranger arrived. Write a story which includes these sentences. So right off the bat, we know that, okay, we know that we have one character in the story is Mr. Mata. We know that in terms of like his qualities, how he is, we know that he's well known, so he's popular. We know that he's respected by persons in the community. But then we get an idea that this character is changing in terms of him becoming withdrawn. So if someone is becoming withdrawn, maybe he's not, socializing with persons like how he used to before, and he is just, more to himself. And then it goes on to say, no one could explain the change until the day the stranger arrived. So this stranger, meaning that someone that the members of the community aren't familiar with, and then only when they saw the stranger, then they now understood what caused them to become withdrawn. So they say, write a story which includes these sentences, and when the instructions say this, it means that they didn't specify if we should begin our story with these sentences, if we should end the story with these sentences, meaning that whatever story you write, anywhere in the story, you have to include these sentences, and just note that these sentences must be included together. So at one point in the story, you cannot put the first sentence up to withdrawn and then write a paragraph and then you include the next line. When the question gives you the sentences and the sentences are together, regardless of it being one sentence, 2 sentences, or 3 sentences, exactly how the sentences are in the question, that's how you are going to rewrite them or include them in your final essay. So when you are including these sentences, you are putting them next to each other, just as how they were in the question. You're not adding any additional words to them. Just as how the quote is, we are including this in our final essay. So just some ideas. What would you all write about in terms of, him being well-known, respected, and he gradually changes? The persons in the community are confused, but then when they see the stranger, then they're like, okay, maybe this is why he's this way. So if you had to create a story from this question, what would you write about? So just take a minute to think. Yes, Ravi, what would you write about?
It can be a death of a close family member or friend.
Okay, and who would be the stranger?
The lawyer comes to read the last will and testimony.
Oh, that's really good because the lawyer would be someone that persons in the community will be familiar with. So that's a good story. So the death in a family could result in someone becoming withdrawn, which is true. We see that when persons when they lose family members, maybe if they weren't sociable and friendly and talkative, and then persons change. Very good.
Or it can be that his past came back to haunt him. He did something, he made an error or did something bad in the past, and then now it came back to haunt him.
Oh, so what could he do that could come back to haunt him?
The law? It can be that many years ago when he was a younger, because now he seems to be an old person because he's very well known and respected in the member of the community. And I guess something happened when in his younger days it happened that he killed somebody and they finally find him.
Oh yeah, and then that could really could really break him, because remember, he is respected. So now people would like lose respect for him, and he made a complete 360 because he wasn't what he appeared to be. Because,
who knows, Mr. Mata might even be his actual name.
True, we don't even know if that could be his name. That could be an alias that he recreated when he moved to this community, and he put on a whole persona for the members.
Yeah.
Very good story. Anybody else have any ideas about what they would write about? With somebody being well known and respected, and then afterwards, you know, they change, and you see the stranger come in. What else could you write about? Jaylan, what would you write about?
So he was like a community leader, and
Uh-huh.
he borrowed some money from some people, and it was a lot, and it was a gang, and he couldn't afford to pay them back. So he always changed and in hiding and never left his home, and he had an underground bunker in his house hiding for the rest of his life.
Oh.
I saw something like that in a movie recently.
What movie was that?
I don't know, I'm watching a lot of movies.
I will be watching a lot of movies, but the amount of schoolwork you're doing is twice the amount of movies you're watching.
Yeah.
Of course, I know that. Anybody else watch a lot of movies and they could draw inspiration from the movies about what they could write for this story?
The Twilight Zone. It can be a horror.
The Twilight Zone. And how would you incorporate that with this question? Let me see if Alex, what would you write about? Alex, are you still thinking? Or you have a bit of a clue what you'd write about, but you don't know too much where it would go? You have any idea what you would write about?
Mrs. Still thinking.
But you don't have any clue what you could possibly write about? Hima, what would you write about?
Him pretending to be Mr. Matter when he really isn't.
Uh-huh.
And the stranger really is Mr. Matter.
Ooh. So that's why he started becoming withdrawn, because the person probably was going to reveal themselves to the to society.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. And how would the real and this person who is pretending to be Mr. Mata, what is he in reality? Sanjay, the person who is pretending to be Mr. Mata, what is he in reality?
Mr. Matter's assistant.
Oh. So he was like using Mr. Mata's money and stuff?
Yeah.
And how would you end that story? When the real Mr. Mata comes?
The real Mr. Matter kills him.
Oh. Oh, because the real Mr. Mata didn't know he was doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Good. Hema, what would you write about?
Miss, when you asked me the question, that's what I was going to say to you, and Sanjay bombarded me.
Sorry.
Sanjay always have exciting stories. Felicia, what would you write about? I didn't hear from you. Felicia also has some really exciting stories. Felicia, what story would you create from this?
Maybe an army man that went to war and died, and the stranger came back to the community, a small village, riding on a horse to tell them.
Oh, so Mr. Mata knew from before, that's why he started becoming withdrawn?
Yeah, he was probably blackmailed or something, and he had to go on some kind of secret mission for the government.
Also, he had to start to distance himself from the people in society so that they wouldn't find out what he was really up to.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see where the story is going. Marie, do you have any ideas about what you would write about?
Oh, miss, I'm busy trying to finish this paper.
Maria, leave the paper alone. We would do that in a few
I
minutes.
said number 23. I'll finish it in a short while.
And let me see. So everyone answered about what they will possibly write about. Alex, are you still thinking? Alex, I'm sure by now you probably have some idea. Remember, we could think about ideas for short stories from the TV shows we watch, the movies we watch, even books we read, maybe a real life experience. We heard someone tell us a story that they experienced, and we could probably, twist that around and make our own story. So, Alex, what would you write about? Maybe you watched a movie, you watch a TV show, you read a book. Maybe you experienced something like this, or you know someone that experienced something like this, so you could try and recreate their story. Alex is still thinking? So I wanted you all to see how the question could come in terms of when they give you the prompt. So this is what we would refer to as a prompt essay, because they just give us a prompt, they give us a few lines, and they tell us to construct a story from these few lines. So we have the picture essay and we have the prompt essay. The prompt essay is pretty simple to write, because they already give us the direction in which the story would go. So it's pretty simple to write. I want you all to see if you can write this essay. Just remember that these sentences, you could begin your story with these sentences, or you could end your story with these sentences, or maybe you could put it in the middle of the story. So I want you all to practice writing the story, and just remember not to separate the sentences. They must be together, just as how they were in the question. So do you all have any questions about this exercise, what is required of you, anything that was on this handout? Do you all have any questions about it?
No.
Miss,
Yes, Marie.
we have to do this question now?
No, you're doing this for homework. You have to write this essay for homework.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone has any questions about this exercise, or anything that was mentioned in the handout? Or anything about short story that you need some clarification on?
How are you managing 400 words?
How are you managing 400 words? Just remember, just pay attention to the outline of the plot in terms of the 5 stages, what is required of you, and try to stick within that. If you stick within that, if you have the exposition in one paragraph, the rise in action in one paragraph, the climax, the fall in action, and the resolution, your essay would amount to 5 paragraphs. But the most amount of paragraphs I want you all to write is 5 to 6 paragraphs. So don't try to exceed 5 to 6 paragraphs. If you exceed that, you're definitely going to cross the word limit. And just remember, write according to the outline of the plot, what you know would come first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Maybe if you're looking to double up on a paragraph, because remember the plot diagram has 5 stages, which would amount to 5 paragraphs. Maybe for the climax, or even for the rise in action and stuff, you one of them could be 2 paragraphs. So just be sure to follow, as long as you follow the plot diagram and the different stages, and you write 1 paragraph per stage in the plot diagram, you would be able to write within the word limit. Try not to override, because one thing that happens, 2 things happens to writers. The first thing is that we get something called a writer's block, where when you begin to write, you literally get stuck. You can't write. All of a sudden, you can't think. You don't understand the question anymore, right? So that's what happened. We call it a writer's block, when you start to write and then you don't know what to write from there. Sometimes you start off really good, you write a paragraph, and then after that, you're like, okay, I'm stuck. And that block could happen for some minutes. Some of y'all happen for some hours, some days. So that could happen. And the opposite of that is that sometimes when you are writing, especially if you're writing about something that you're really passionate about, it's very easy for us to to get in our feelings and to be really dive into the story and put our all into the story that we just want to write. But we have to remember that this is a short story, so whenever you find yourself straying, just keep rereading what you have written before and say and ask yourself, do you have everything that you were supposed to have? Is this relevant, or is this me just rattling on or saying something that I already mentioned before? Because sometimes you can mention one instance in a story and then you all could spend 2 paragraphs writing about that one thing. So just try to find the main points in the story, which would be in the main stages of the plot outline, and try not to overwrite. If you stick to the 1 paragraph per stage in the plot diagram, you would be able to write within the word limit. And this is why when you're writing, you always have to keep rereading what you have written before. And even what I do is that, like, literally after every line I write, I always read the previous lines. So like if I write 3 sentences and I'm gonna write my 4th one, I reread the 3 sentences first, then I write the 4th one. When I finish writing the 4th sentence, I reread all 4, then I write the 5th one. So that's what I do because it really helps in me keeping to the point. So every time I write a sentence, I go back to the top and I reread up until that point, just to ensure that I don't stray, because it's very easy for us to stray when we are writing. So that's why checking over is extremely important. And that's why sometimes when you all check over, it's very easy for you to cross off lines because you're like, okay, this isn't making any sense. So you could try that. Do you all have any more?
I realize too much with discussions between characters, that'll take up a lot of time too.
Yeah, you just want to make the characters talk briefly, stick to the point. So like even when we read the different exercises on dialogue today, did you see how the dialogue was used? They didn't make the sentences long. They kept the sentences pretty short. So try when the characters are having conversations, not to make them talk a lot. Just make them say like 1 sentence. If what they're saying goes over to 2 lines on the page, ensure that that is really relevant. But you will see in the examples, even from this handout, when we looked at the different types of dialogue with dialogue and theme and conflict and stuff, you will see that when the characters were speaking, that their speech wasn't long. So don't let your character talk for an extremely long period of time, where their speech goes over to 2 lines or 3 lines. That's too long. Try to keep what the characters are saying short and to the point. Don't use as many words to say one thing. It's like summary writing. When it comes to the characters talking, just let them say the main thing and that's it. Because that could take up a lot of words as well. Do you have any more questions about this handout or anything on narrative writing?
No.
Good. So let's move over to your homework, which was the June 2000 multiple choice paper. I told you all that we're going all the way back because I'm sure that you all saw when you did this paper. I'm sure there were sections in this paper that you all saw already. Anybody saw sections in this paper that maybe they've done already?
The comprehension.
Yeah, so which comprehension did you all see before?
That was the first one with
Yes, there was some things in this paper you all saw already.
Miss, for the multiple choice homework, we have to write the questions also.
No, what I want is that we'll be correcting it as normal. All I'm doing is that in your notebooks, I just want you all to write like the year. So you can write June 2000 and you can number in your books from 1 to 60 and just write the letters in your book. Because you all have this soft copy for the paper. So you don't have to write the questions. Just write your letters from 1 to 60.
Okay, thanks.
So it'll be easier when we correct it. I know which comprehension you all saw before. The comprehension with the books. I gave you all that comprehension already. I don't know if you all remember that. That comprehension was actually in, I think it was the 2015 paper. But this is to show you all that CXC is going all the way back. You see that they went back to the 2000 paper, the year 2000, to bring a comprehension. 15 years later, they brought back the same comprehension. So that's why it's important, regardless of the years that we do it in the multiple choice, that we do all the multiple choice from the early ones, because you would see, and even when we do the upcoming papers, you will see how much the questions repeat. So this is a June 2000 paper. I hope you all timed yourself. Your usual time is 1 hour and a half to do a multiple choice paper. So I hope that during this period, when you all are home and you're doing multiple choice papers, that you'll practice timing yourselves. Because for those of you all who saw what Lyndon sent in the WhatsApp group, was that CXC released your draft timetable for exams this year. And did you all see that for the paper 1, the multiple choice paper, they said that you all have 1 hour and a half, which means that the questions will remain as 60 questions. So from now on, when you all are doing multiple choice papers for homework, practice timing yourself, please. Do the paper on one sitting. I don't want you all to do the paper where you do 20 questions today, 20 tomorrow, 20 the other day. I want you to practice doing all 60 at the same time, 1 hour and a half. Time yourself, set an alarm or something, and time yourself for 1 hour and a half, because we need to get into the exam preparation mode, right? We all need to only do the papers in 1 hour and a half, just so that you all can see where you all are at and how prepared you are for the exam. So you will have 60 questions and you have 1 hour and a half to do so. Try to do your papers from now on one sitting when you're home, and time yourself as well. So the first section in this paper was synonyms. So it says in each of the following sentences, there is one underlined word. Select the option which is nearest in meaning to the underlined word and mark the corresponding space on your answer sheet. So I will pick someone to do this entire section for me, which would be questions 1 to 6. So the first person is Jaden. Did you do the homework?
Yeah, I didn't do it, but I can do it now.
Okay, so you would read question 1, then you tell me the answer, then question 2, and so on until you reach question 6, okay?
What's the instructions?
I read the instructions just now, Jaden.
I know, I went to the bathroom, miss.
So this is a synonym section where in each of the following sentences, there is one underlined word, and you have to select the option which is nearest in meaning to the underlined word, and what it says to mark it on a corresponding answer sheet. So in this case, you're just writing the answers in the book, right? We're looking for a word that is similar in meaning to the underlined word.
Okay.
So number 1.
We greatly admire her for her valor. I think is B, courage.
Yes, 1 is B, courage.
Okay. 2, a citizen is expected to show, what's that word, miss?
Complete allegiance.
Allegiance to his native land. B, loyalty.
Yes, 2, B, loyalty, good.
The bookkeeper said that our account was dormant. I think it's D, inactive.
Yes, it's D, inactive.
The stricken family thanked the entire community for their benevolence after the earthquake. I think is C, friendship.
Not friendship.
Oh wait, sorry, A, kindness.
A, kindness, very good.
The new employees seem to be a very zealous worker. Zealous means
C?
Like yeah.
The answer is not C. Remember, in the word zealous, right? We see the word
B,
zeal.
miss?
If you have a zeal for something, it means that you have a passion. You're very passionate about it.
Oh, so be enthusiastic.
It's be enthusiastic. Good. And the last one for you, Jada, number 6.
The earthquake caused widespread damage throughout the island. D, extensive.
D, extensive. Very good. So Do you all have any questions about numbers 1 to 6 with the synonyms? Anybody have any questions that they want to some clarification on?
I could do 7 to 12.
If you could do 7 to 12? Okay, no problem. Anybody have any questions? Or you all got this section correct? Did anybody get all correct?
Ashley did.
Very good.
I got one wrong.
Which one you got wrong?
The one skillful. I put skillful.
Oh, just remember that sometimes if you don't know the meaning of a word, look to see if you see a smaller word in the word that you know. And well, the word there would have been zeal. And if you have a zeal about something, it means that you have a passion for it. So that's a good technique, a good strategy that you could try for vocabulary, synonyms or antonyms. Whenever you don't know the meaning of a word, just try to see if you find a smaller word within that word and see if you can figure out the meanings. So Sanjay said he wanted to do this section. This is a sentence completion. It says choose the word or set of words that best completes each sentence. So basically you are filling in the blanks. So number 7, Sanjay.
To conceal his true activity.
Sanjay.
To conceal his true activities, the spy quickly something a plausible excuse for his presence there. Fabricated, eh?
Good, A, fabricated. Number 8. Sanjay, are you with us?
Oh yeah, banking has become the most something industry as evidenced by the huge profits recorded last year. A, popular.
Not popular.
D.
Not B.
No, D.
Yes, D, thriving. Very good. And thriving means like fast growing, right? Very prosperous. Number 9.
People would not frequently change their wardrobe to keep up with everyday trend in fashion. A, fashionable.
Remember, it says they would not change. They would not frequently change their wardrobe.
Conservative.
Yeah, conservative. Number 10.
The journalists were impressed by the something of the statesman whose speeches had a profound something on all who heard them. D.
Yes, D, eloquence. And if someone is very has eloquence, it means that that you know when they're speaking, they're very fluent when they're speaking. Good. So number 11.
Her criticism was constructive and honest with no something whatsoever. Candor, see?
Not candor.
B.
Yes, B, malice, meaning like hate. And the last one, number 12.
Are you trying to something that all along he knew the plot to oust this committee? B?
Not B. That was a better answer.
D?
D, insinuate. So I'm sure you all have seen some of these questions before. We did in your multiple choice papers that we did, some of these questions appeared before. Anybody got all correct in this section?
Yeah.
Very good.
2 wrong.
2 wrong, good. Only 1 person got all correct?
2 wrong, miss.
1 wrong.
Okay, good. The next section is spelling, and I hope that you all did not use dictionaries for this, right? So we started, so you know the direction says that there's one underlined word. One of the underlined words may be misspelled. You have to choose.
This one was easy.
Yeah, it was. You have to choose from options A, B, or C, and if you think that there's nothing wrong, then you put D as your response. So, Hema, you're gonna do this section for me. Hema, are you there? Felicia, are you there? And are you willing to do this section?
Yes, miss.
Good. So you will start with number 13. We're looking to see if there are any words spelled wrong, or if not, you will tell us that there's no error and well, D will be your answer.
Okay. 13. The answer is A, practice.
Good. And that practice should be the one with the C, which is a noun, because we're actually saying that the noun in this case, the one with the S is the verb. So it's supposed to be practice with the C, meaning that, you know, the actual exercise or the custom is going to begin at this time. So the answer was A. Good. Number 14, which word do you think is the error?
Recurrent.
Good. And how do you spell recurrent?
R-E-C-U-R-R-E-N-T.
Good. So we're supposed to take off a C there. Good. Number 15.
Incessant.
Good. And how do we spell incessant?
I-N-C-E-S-S-A-N-T.
Good. Number 16.
A, corporal.
Good. Spell?
C-O-P-R-O-R-A-L.
Spell it again?
C-O-R-P-O-R-A-L.
Good. We're supposed to have an R before the P. And number 17.
Zealous.
Good. And how do you spell zealous?
Z-E-A-L-O-U-S.
And you're always supposed to get that because zealous was in the vocabulary in section 1. And number 18.
Different.
Spell different.
D-I-F-F-E-R-E-N-T.
Very good. Did anyone get all correct in this section?
I got
Yes.
one wrong.
I got all correct.
Very
Me
good.
too.
Our next section is the first reading comprehension, which of course was a passage that you all have seen before, because I did bring this in one of your exams last year, in your midterm exam last year. So this comprehension passage was about what? Who wants to give me a little summary as to what this passage was about?
About the terror of having books and friends always wanting to borrow.
Yes, that's it in a nutshell. They're basically saying that, you know, when you have books, it describes someone who has a passion for books, and they're talking about, you know, when people come over and how people look at your bookshelf.
I remember this.
Yes, we did this passage already, so you all should get all correct, or probably one wrong for the most. So this is what I mean when I tell you all that you have to keep revising the multiple choice.
Miss, I only seen this for the first time in my life.
Oh yes, Marie, you weren't there when we did this paper last year, but this is what. So when you all are revising multiple
I was here when we did this paper 2 years ago.
You have to revise the passage, and you even have to revise the answers. So that's how you have to revise multiple choice. Yes, Ravi, that's why I have my books. Storage containers, Ravi, storage containers. That's why when you're revising multiple choice, I want you to revise the question and try to memorize the answer as well. Because the questions come the same all the time, the answers are the same all the time, okay? So this passage, they were just basically talking about when you have books and you have persons come over by you, even your friends and stuff, how you feel to lend someone your book, because you know that they're not going to take care of it like how you would take care of it. So number 19 says, according to the writer in lines 1 to 8, what is the most frightening thought that occurs when a guest stares at your bookshelves?
They're gonna talk about books.
Which letter you had as your answer, Sanjay, for number 19?
Let me. I had B.
Yes, the answer is B, that he will ask to borrow one of your favorite books. Number 20 says that the guest looks from title to title as from girl to girl in an overheated dance hall. This comparison is intended to suggest a feeling of what, Ravi?
B, frustration.
Not frustration. Try again, Ravi.
A.
A, anticipation, because you know that when someone starts looking from title to title, you know that, you get a bit of anxiety because you know what's going to come. So the best answer was A, anticipation. Number 21 says the writer uses a series of short sentences in lines 5 to 7 to convey his feeling of what? So Marie, what you had as for this answer? When he uses the short sentences there, why do you think these short sentences are being used there, Marie?
This B?
Not B, there was a better one.
D?
Not D.
Okay, well, I don't know.
The answer is A, apprehension, meaning that he was feeling like anxiety or fear that, that the person would ask for the book borrow. So just to go over the answers for Hema wanted the answers from 14. Number 14 was B, number 15 was C, number 16 A, 17 A, 18 C, 19 B, and 20 A. And 21, Marie, is apprehension. So the answer for 21 is A, apprehension, meaning that, he was feeling anxiety or fear because he knew what was going to take place. Number 22 says, the writer in paragraph 2, lines 9 to 14, describes in detail how he obtained the book in order to what? Jaden, what you have? Oh wait, Jaden.
Miss, I didn't do the homework. I just followed him until then.
I hope you're recording the answers as well, Jaden.
Yes, miss.
Good. Ravi, what you have for 22?
22 is?
Number 22 is A. Explain why he is so attached to the book. Because, he went through so much to get the book. That's why.
All that drama.
Yes. 23, the word mind in line 14 is written in the italics because the author wishes to emphasize what?
How much he minds lending the book?
Yep, the answer is D, how much he minds lending the book. Number 24, in line 18, the writer uses the square brackets to indicate that the word in these brackets, when you look at the words in the square brackets, what do the words do? Sanjay?
D?
Not D.
B?
Not B.
C. A, miss.
It doesn't parallel, it actually contradicts. So it shows the opposite. So the answer was C. 24 was C. 25 says, one has books, one has friends, they are bound to meet. Lines 19 to 20. This implies that when they are bound to meet, if something is bound to happen, it means that it is
inevitable.
Inevitable. So the answer is B. 26. Paragraph 4, lines 19 to 23 indicates that Charles Lamb regards those who borrow books with. And line 26, Hema, what did you have?
Yes, I didn't have an answer for that.
So remember in this line, there was one word that really spelled out the answer for us. The word was livid. L-I-V-I-D, and if someone is livid, it means that they're extremely angry. And that's how he was feeling. So that means that the best answer here was C, anger. 27 says, according to the writer, which of the following is true in the comparison of borrowing books and borrowing money? There was one thing that the writer said about borrowing books and borrowing money. Felicia, do you know the answer?
D?
Yes, the answer is D. The borrower of money becomes a slave to the lender. So in this comprehension, anybody got all correct in this comprehension?
3 wrong.
2 wrong.
Good. So you all saw that this comprehension repeats a lot, right? So we need to memorize the answers to this
I
passage.
got 4, miss. 4 wrong.
Good for our first attempt, Marie, because I know you didn't do this when the rest of the class did this. This next poem was entitled The Companion. Anybody wants to tell me what this poem was about?
It was about a little boy and girl. He found her and he was kind of not really sure if to take her under his wing, but he had no choice.
Yeah, so they were just talking about, you know, they met and their journey and how he was feeling, how she was feeling, and what took place eventually. And a key thing in the bottom of the poem, it says they were making a reference to World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945. So we got an idea that, you know, maybe the what was taking place here when they said under the rocking sky of 41, we know that they were talking about the war that was taking place. So maybe, you know, during a war, people get displaced and stuff. So they found each other, and, you know, he, as Ravi said, he took her under his wing and he carried her to ensure that, you know, that she was safe and everything was okay with her. That's why the title is The Companion. So a companion is like someone who's a company, who is a friend. So 28 says the episode described in the poem took place after a. After what? If it's World War, what happens during World War? Are there fires, volcanoes, train crash? They're de-bombing. 29 says the speaker's impression of the girl when he decided to take her with him was that she was, how did he feel?
He felt like she was weak at first.
Yeah, the answer is B, weak. He did feel that she was extremely weak because he did describe her as feeble. Number 30 says the speaker's attitude as revealed in lines 10 to 12 and 18 to 20 is one of. So 10 to 12 says, come on, do you hear what you're waiting for? The world was big and we were not big, and it was tough for us to walk across it. So what do you think his attitude is?
A?
A, condescension. And what does condescension mean? Condescension meaning that, you know, he was feeling as though he was superior to her. Because, you know, she was a girl and he was a boy, so he was feeling that, you know, that he could have ruled her, that she had to listen to him. So the answer was A. 31 says, which of the following best describes the speaker as he is revealed in lines 1 to 4? So if you had to describe the speaker, if you knew the meaning of condescension, you would know that disdainful is a synonym for condescension. So right there, we know that the answer is A, he is disdainful. So he feels as though he's superior to her, but he's still sympathetic because he carried her along for the journey. So the answer is A, disdainful but sympathetic. 32 says, at first the speaker thought that Cater would be a burden to him. Later, however, it is Cater who urges him to continue their journey. This is an example of
irony.
Yes, it's C, irony, because the situation turned out differently than expected, which is exactly what irony is. 33, the speaker and the girl were walking across the country because, so why were they walking across the country? If it's World War and they have to run, why would people be on the run and walk across the country?
Place.
They're running from the war.
They're looking for a safe place.
Yes, the answer is C. They were looking for a safe place because remember, wherever they were, it was not safe anymore. 34 says, put grass in your boots, line 25. Keita makes this suggestion to the speaker in the poem to do what? Why did Keita tell him to put grass in his boots?
His foot
So his
probably
feet
was
don't
getting
smell.
sore.
Sanjay never said if his feet, for his feet not to smell, Sanjay. That was not an option. Marie, what did you say was your answer?
And you say, they say put grass in your boots, I say his foot was probably sore.
No, that was not an option as well.
I know, miss, I just say that.
Anybody had an answer for 34?
Miss, is it
Is it C?
It's not C.
Miss, is it D?
No, it's not B.
No.
Miss.
D as in dog.
The answer is A, to make him block up the holes in his shoes. Because remember, he said that this shoe was a hand-me-down. And why would your shoe have holes in it? Because it's old. Remember, the key thing there is that his foot was like showing through the shoes because there were holes in the shoes. And he did say that this was a hand-me-down. So the answer was A. 35, Keita revealed in lines 26 to 35 of the poem can best be described as. So if you had to describe this girl, how would you describe her? In line 26 to 35, which is when she started to take the lead. Because in the beginning she was quiet, but then she changed from lines 26. So how was she now?
B?
She was B. She was bossy, but she was resourceful because she was the one who actually got him through this and, you know, motivated him. So she was resourceful because she knew what exactly to do. Like when she told him to put the grass in his shoes and stuff. 36, despite his feeling of tiredness, which of the following made this speaker keep on moving across the country?
Pride.
It wasn't pride.
It wasn't.
D, miss.
It was A, fair. You remember he said that he feared her? And that's why he said the fair first. 37, in the last 11 lines of the poem, the speaker can best be described as. So how is the speaker in the last 11 lines? Sanjay, line number 37.
Sorry, I will just go back from the bathroom.
Question 37.
Hold on. I had C.
Yes, the answer is C. He was proud, but he was persevering because he wanted to continue with the journey. 38 says, the fact that the speaker in the poem even whistled indicate that he was. So why did he whistle?
To hide his feelings?
Yeah, he attempted to hide his feelings. So the answer was D. So anybody got all correct in this passage?
Yeah,
Wrong.
2 wrong? Okay, good. Ravi, how much did you get wrong? Oh, correct.
3 wrong.
Okay. This next comprehension is one that repeats a lot too. It's about blind people. What was the main idea in this comprehension passage? What was the purpose of writing this passage?
To help them.
Computer.
Yeah, they were mentioning that now someone has invented a talking computer that would help blind people. And how would it help them? They mentioned in terms of like their education and employment. And it would even help them because, you know, blind people aren't typically computer literate because of how, you know, they have to look on a computer. So to really help them to learn at the speed of others as well. So 39 says in paragraph 1, the writer makes the point that blind people what?
C?
Must be forced to face disadvantages in learning.
Miss, is it D?
B can deal with many disadvantages.
No, D.
Or D are unreasonably exposed to numerous disadvantages.
Yeah.
Any more options?
A, miss.
A, need exposure to disadvantages as practice for coping. Number 40, one can conclude from paragraph 1 that blind people are what?
A?
You remember we know that they're saying that blind people are disadvantaged, right?
D.
So the best option would be C, enjoy more limited opportunities than others. Because they were saying that the whole argument of paragraph 1 is that, that they were at a disadvantage and stuff. But they even showed how some of these disadvantages really help with them being able to cope with other problems. 41, the word which best conveys the impression created by but perhaps not for long is, if someone says but perhaps not for long, what kind of feeling does that evoke in you?
Hopeful.
Doubt, miss.
It's B, hope, because it means that, that they found a new way for blind people to learn. 42 says vistas in this context is an example of a vista is like a view. So if they say vistas, could blind people see?
No, miss.
So then the answer would be A, that's a pun, because blind people cannot see. 43, according to the passage, the talking computer is what?
A.
It's actually A, it's now a reality, because remember they said that someone invented the computer, so it is now a reality. 44, in line 22, asserts is used instead of says in order to do what? If someone is assertive, then it's what? Then you're being how? I would use the word asserts.
To convince the readers. B.
Not to convince the readers, but remember, if you are asserting something, it means that you are declaring it because you are confident about what you're saying.
Or maintaining your same statement or something.
So the best answer would be D, to show how strongly Hudesek holds his view, because if he's being assertive, it means that he's very confident, he's strong about what he's saying. 45, the writer's inclusion of the phrase to name a few in line 39 is if you say just to name a few, it means that many exist, right? So the best option would be D, useful and emphasizing the point that the functions are many. So because you don't want to list all, you just use the phrase to name a few, just to show that there are many different options. 46, the phrase so-called is used before fully contracted Braille to tell us that the writer is what? If someone says so-called, it means that they don't necessarily agree with what they're going to say next. They have like some feeling about it. So the best option would be A, has reservations about the claim made by the inventors of this version of Braille. So if you say so-called, it means that you don't really share the same sentiment as the person. So the best option there was A. 47, the aim of paragraph 4 is primarily to do what? Paragraph 4 is when they were basically, talking about the computer and listing all the functions and stuff. Ravi, 47.
C, miss.
C, very good. 48, the idea conveyed in the concluding sentences of this article is similar to that of the best answer was A, the last sentence of paragraph 1. because it gives some hope that, you know, that now blind people could access a computer in which they will be able to learn at a pace of at the pace of others, you know, of other normal people who are seeing. 49, the type of language contained in this passage is
C.
It's not C. The best option is A, mainly technical jargon, because they use a lot of terms directly relating to the computer. So that's what we refer to as a lot of technical jargon, because the layman person would not know what these terms mean, and these terms are jargon relating to the actual device. They are the vocabulary that we use when we are describing the computer and the different functions and features of the computer. And 50, the last one says the main purpose of the writer is to do what?
D.
Do you think it's D?
I think it's C, miss. Not C, B.
B, to highlight the achievement of a caring inventor. Because remember, his main thing was talking about Hidosek and how Hidosek took the time to invent this, and you know how he was passionate about it. So the best option was B.
Okay.
And the last section was this advertisement when they were talking about why people who own an STZ723 enjoy driving more than you do. So they were basically talking about what? They were talking about a luxury vehicle.
Miss, excuse.
Yes.
The answer 50 was B, right?
Yes, the answer for 50 was B.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So they were talking about the STC, the best in driving machines, and they basically gave us, like, you know, some descriptions about who created the STC, the kind of people that drive this vehicle. They were even giving us some features of it, like when you look under the hood, talking about the engineering, about the engine and so on. And even they were basically describing how one feels when you actually sit in this vehicle and you drive in this vehicle. So 51 says the main purpose of the ad is to do what?
B?
Not B.
A.
B. They wanted to make people want to own an STZ, because remember they're advertising the car and they are creating this image that this vehicle is the best, it's luxurious, and it makes you feel a particular way. So they want you to you know, to buy it. So they want to make you want to own an STZ. 52 says in lines 1 to 3, the writer gives the impression that he uses the word enthusiastic. So how is he? If you are enthusiastic, then you're feeling what?
Amused or optimistic, you hope.
Then you're
Excited.
feeling A, amused. Because if you're enthusiastic, you are extremely happy, you are amused by what you are describing. 53 says, which of the following means most nearly the same as a sweeping assortment in line 1? You remember, if you have an assortment of something, it means that you have what?
Many
You
different
start.
kinds.
So the best answer would be C, many different types. 54 says the advertisement places most emphasis on the STZ's what? So out of all the things that they were describing about the vehicle, it places a lot of emphasis on what about the vehicle?
Performance.
Yes, the answer was C, performance. 55 says the word prejudice, reputation in line 8, most nearly what?
A.
A is extraordinarily renowned. 56, which of the following statements about the STZ 723 is based on opinion rather than fact? Remember, an
D.
opinion is something that cannot be proven to be true, right?
Is it D?
This D is very enjoyable to drive, because to one person it may be enjoyable, but to the next person it may not. 57 says phrases such as the exceedingly rare relationship between man and machine and will spoil you are primarily designed to promote the STZ as an automobile that does what?
A.
Drives.
A, miss.
A is pleasurable to drive. And 58 says, by telling us that under the hood of the STZ 723 world, the writer is mainly doing what?
C?
Not C.
D, miss.
It's B, because all the things that he's referencing, they are to support what he's saying about it. So those are like the facts that he's presenting. So he's seeking to support his claims for the superiority of the STZ. So why this vehicle is better than others. 59 says the main purpose of the title, Why People You Do, is what?
B?
It's to A, arouse the curiosity of readers, because remember it was a question.
Okay.
And the last one, 60, the author suggests that the only feature that makes an expensive car cost effective is that it must...
C?
Not C.
B.
Not B.
Okay, well.
The answer was A, be singularly enjoyable to drive, because they put a lot of emphasis on the relationship between the car and how you feel when you drive the vehicle. So the best answer was A. So put your total out of 60.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16,
Can you tell me the answer for
19, 20, 21, 22.
Miss? You there?
Yes, Emma?
Can you tell me the answer for 58?
38?
58.
Or 58, the answer was B.
I got 52.
Very good, Sanjay.
I get 44.
44, miss.
Very good. Everybody's supposed to be getting above 40. And those of you who are getting above 50, excellent work. Keep it up.
You're supposed to tell me excellent. I just finished doing it.
Yes, yes, Marie, that is true, because this was your first attempt. So I'm very proud of you. So just remember that I gave you all our next multiple choice paper to do. It was a June 2003 paper that I gave you all to do. So you have that paper to do for me for next week's class. Next week's class, I want to dive into the paper 3 as well. So be sure to tell your classmates that we will be exploring the paper 3 as well, because remember, in place of the SBA mark, the paper 3 was implemented. And since you all did not do an SBA because you all are private candidates, for your final exam, you will have to do a paper 1, which is a multiple choice paper for an hour and a half, 60 questions. And then you will have to do a paper 2, a paper 3, which is short answer questions. And that exam will be 2 hours long. So next week's class, I want to get into the paper 3, into how we answer, how we coin the responses and so on.
Miss, that's all that you had to say. I know you told me to remind you.
Yes, Hema. Yes. So I wanted to tell you all that the timetable came out, and Lyndon sent it in the WhatsApp group to you all. So for your paper 1, it's 60 multiple choice questions. You have 1 hour and a half to complete that paper. And for your paper 3, you have short answer questions based on 3 stimuli, and you have 2 hours to complete that paper as well. So as the weeks go by, I'll be giving you all more multiple choice papers to do. And next week, I want to get into the paper 3 as well, so that we could focus on how we analyze the stimuli that is given to us, and also how we shape our responses and how we attempt the short answer questions in terms of formatting the responses in complete sentences and sticking within the within the word limit to answer the questions, because the short answer questions, some of us may want to write an entire paragraph, and when the question could actually be answered in 2 sentences and so on. So we'll be getting into the paper 3 as well next week's class. So be sure to tell us your other classmates who weren't here today for today's class that next week's class is very crucial, because we'll be getting into the paper 3.
Miss, could you send us some of the paper 3 to go through?
Oh, sure. I will send it to you all as well.
Thanks.
Because paper 3 is only new. It only started in May 2018. So there aren't many past papers for it as yet, because it's a new paper that only started in May 2018. But the good thing about paper 3 is that the questions come the same every year. So as long as you know how to answer the questions, you'll be good to go, because they bring the same questions for you every year. They just change like the passage they bring and the poem and the advertisement, but they bring the same questions for you every year.
Good night, Miss.
Yes, you all enjoy your night. And
Well,
be sure to be on time for next week's class as well.